Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Chief Marketing Officer Summit. We've had a full day of content and lots more to come. And I'm really pleased to introduce our next session of the day, which is from our headline sponsor, Influitive. And we've got a session on the CMO shift from spending to investing in customers. And I'd like to welcome our speakers. Hi guys.
Hey there.
Welcome to the CMO Summit. I'd like to hand over to Julie and Dan, who are going to do a great conversation on the CMO shift for us. Over to you guys. Any questions, pop them in the chat, and looking forward to the session.
Caitlin, thank you very much, but I don't see my ability to upload or present the PDF file.
Oh,
Wait a minute. I think I get it. Just became available. Is that
awesome?
There we go. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Thank you so much, Caitlin. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for the CMO Summit. We are proud to be a sponsor of the CMO Summit again this year. And my name is Dan Cody. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Influitive. And I am happy to be joined by Julie O'Brien, Chief Marketing Officer at Attack IQ. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you so much, Dan. Great to be here.
And Julie is a current and repeat Influitive customer, but we're not going to be talking about Influitive today, but I just want to air that out and be fully transparent. She's a great customer of ours, and love to have her aboard and talking through this. So, I think this is a really timely topic, Julie, because, we've got a slow economy. Some say we're in a recession or we're moving into a recession. There are budget cuts, and we're moving into 2023 marketing budget planning. And so we've got to figure out, we as marketing executives need to figure out how we're going to spend our money wisely. And I feel as though that doing that by investing in customers is the smart way to go in a good economy or bad economy. And I think, one of the main reasons, just looking at that, why marketers need to shift their mindset and budget towards customers is for this reason alone. There's a seismic shift in buyers. According to a G2 study, 93% of software buyers do not trust marketing. That's a kind of a sobering stat, is it not? The only thing that's good about that is sales are even higher. I think it's 95%, but what good is that?
All right.
The other part is, from a Forrester study, 70% of the buying journey is complete before they ever reach out to sales. So those are pretty mind-boggling statistics. And Julie, you're in the cybersecurity space where trust is ever so more important. So how do you instill trust with buyers for your brand and get them to talk to your salespeople?
Yeah, Dan, so I'm very passionate about customer delight. And just like I like to say, everybody's in marketing, everyone's in sales, like everyone's in customer advocacy too. There is one of my favorite CIOs, and I've been selling B2B tech for, longer than I care to even admit at this point. But one of my favorite CIOs was helping myself and my team at Nutanix understand, how do you actually get in front of C-level buyers, particularly in tech, where they're very skeptical, right? If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. They've probably been burned many a time by vendors, overblowing what the product capabilities are all about. And she was the first to tip me off that there was these secret CIO networks, and she was only half kidding, half serious though. And so this is a way for CIOs to come together without vendors as part of the event, right? They're talking openly, they're sharing solutions, they're sharing feedback on vendors, and they're doing it in like a safe space where they know they're not going to get pitched by a vendor. And it just makes sense, right? You trust your peers over what someone who's trying to sell you is presenting as facts to you, right? Whether you buy a car, I'm sure, you talk to your neighbors, you talk to your family, if you're investing in a new oven, getting ready for Thanksgiving. You just want to have that peer network. And so I think it is incredibly important for us just to acknowledge that, this is the landscape. And you're right, in cyber in particular, where sometimes people don't even want to share their picture on LinkedIn because that's too much information for them to get out there. They really want to be able to trust a network of colleagues that knows what it's like to walk in their shoes every day. So as I know, we're going to progress the conversation, but this is why I think that customer advocacy and customer marketing are just really need to be part of the DNA of the organization.
Thank you. Very good. And I think that there's another, part of that consequence of the challenges that we face, and we have to constantly adapt to that landscape, is looking at this sobering statistic here around the rising cost of customer acquisition. This is a ProfitWell study based on SaaS subscription. Nearly 2,000 people have completed this survey, and you can just see the rising cost. The green line is the B2B, the gray line is B2C. So it doesn't really matter which camp you're in. The fact is the costs continue to rise, and you can't just do more effective advertising. I think you have to be more creative around how to bring down that cost. And I think some of the contributing reasons around that is there were more buyers, and it's not just buyers, it's buying groups. So the average buying group is, I don't know, 5 to 10 people. So that's 5 to 10 people that you have to influence and convince about your solution. There are more channels, online and offline, social media channels. So you just can't spend your way and be omnipresent in all of these channels. And another part of it is more products, not just more products, but my God, there's so many categories of products. The MarTech 5,000 list is nearly 10,000 right now. And everybody has a solution, and those solutions have overlapping features that creates confusion, and that slows down the whole buying cycle. And then lastly, there's just more competition wherever you go. So I don't know, Julie, any comments around this, or how can us marketing executives lower that CAC?
Yeah. So this is where I do think activating your customers as advocates is so exciting. And this is really, I know we have a lot of marketers on the call, but for me, what gets me excited is seeing when the aha moment happens with a customer and the light in their eyes goes off and they really get the value that you're bringing to the table for them. And, if you happen to be in a space where your product is so game changing that it actually makes their lives better, they go home without, worries, keeping them awake at night. They get to spend more time with their family, their dog, their plants, whatever it is they like to do outside of work. Like being able to channel that energy and empower them to share that goodness back out into their peer network is, it doesn't really take a lot of money. It's just coming up programmatically with the way to harness that goodness and empower them to go tell their story and give them a platform to share how innovative they are for choosing to do something that's smarter, better, more efficient, all of the things that they're trying to achieve in their role.
Well said. And I think that, it's your raving fans and your best customers, most satisfied customers that are going to attract your new customers. And that's why I think that, it's your prospects are looking for the content that your customers are sharing. And hopefully they're sharing good content because they're happy with you, not bad content and bad reviews because they're dissatisfied with you. So it's so important to be engaging with your customers and get them to that level of advocacy where they want to share their story and their authentic story, because that's what resonates most with your prospects out there. So
I love this slide, Dan, because it really shows, especially on the right, the journey where you've been fortunate enough to have a product that people actually want to pay you money for, or a service that people want to pay you money for, but then you're moving them up to becoming an advocate. This is really nirvana. And I think driving customer delight, and everyone has a hand in what customer delight means, whether it's like the receptionist who's sitting at the front office and welcoming people coming through, or somebody who's just responding to an email faster about a pain point, or someone who's tightly associated with the product, or a development team that's listening to feature requests and making those things happen for the user. Being able to create almost like a superset of champions for you is truly nirvana. And when that happens, like that is the magic. So I love this slide, and this is exactly how I think about the customer marketing function and the customer advocacy function.
So how can you share how you look at customers as part of your content strategy, or maybe share with how marketing executives should be thinking about that, so it's not an ad hoc, it's more formalized?
Yeah. So I love actually when, again, this is baked into the DNA of the company. And so I've seen early stage companies and leadership teams where they've started off first, maybe creating Slack channels with their first handful of early adopters. And they're sharing their mobile phones so that people can WhatsApp them or text them at any point in time if they have any trouble. Like that starts to really lay the human rapport and connection with those early adopters and give them access to the leadership team where not every company does that, and you'd be surprised. It's not just a startup thing, but even like mid-sized larger companies, there will be those handful of early adopters that have the ability to make the connection directly into the CEO's office or the head of product or whatever it may be. And that starts to build a lot of loyalty and a lot of respect for the relationship, where it's not so transactional and just another vendor, but you are building a relationship with that customer. And then you start to move into, as you're maturing, it's all about the abs, right? Not your abdominals, but like all of the advisory boards, the customer advisory boards, the technical advisory boards, councils, that might be at the thought leadership level. It's about building communities, using platforms like Influitive, which is so great at this, where you've got all of these users. Now you want to engage them and you want to encourage them to participate in building your company. That's good for them. It's good for you, because the more people that are now using your product or service, the more development and innovation, you're able to do, and then bring that back out and that goodness back out into your customer base. So there's lots of different ways, and it really does come down to taking that programmatic approach. It's advisory boards. It's looking at your early adopters and giving them an opportunity to nominate for an award so that they can show that they're innovating and they're getting their brand out with whatever, again, the technology or services that you might be offering, and they're getting those accolades, and it's a virtuous cycle, right? Helping those customers get a soundbite in the press. Again, it's great for their career. They appreciate that opportunity. User conferences, webinars like this, speaking opportunities, and again, really kind of building a community as you're building your company and you're building your customer base.
Well said. I think communities are just so important going forward. It's communities where it's your employees, your partners, your customers all working together to improve a product, improve a service, grow the brand, and grow your personal brand. What I love about this slide here, and what Forrester has done, is really the traditional marketing and sales funnel to drive leads, and through that funnel is very antiquated. And I love this because it really shines a light on where predominantly companies' revenue comes from, your current customers. So much of that revenue, largely speaking, you could say 80% of your revenue is coming from your existing customers, 20% maybe comes from your net new customers that you're acquiring. But the reality is those existing customers are the ones that are heavily influencing your new customers that come aboard. So largely it's 100% of your customers that are influencing everything. So you really need, as marketers, not just be thinking about the acquisition, but retention and relationship building.
I agree. Yeah, and also just coming back to, again, my favorite CIO on the planet, Wendy Pfeiffer. She also had some great advice, and you're seeing this here, and you mentioned it earlier, Dan. It's not just one buyer, right? Like, people think they need to go to, like in the case of technology selling, the CIO or the CISO, but she was encouraging her vendors to go talk to my lieutenants, go talk to my like directors, my VPs. Like, we make decisions together. They're out doing the research of the products. Like, it's just not me making the decision, me being the CIO. And you do see this. There's a lot of tools out there now that help you understand intent signals. And when accounts are starting to swarm on your website, they're swarming around topics that you want to participate in. But it is about group selling, and within your current customer base, especially if you've got a platform or a service that has the ability to move into different parts of the organization, then you should be trying to land and expand into that existing customer. And if they're happy and you've made them an evangelist for your organization, they're probably going to be pretty receptive to scheduling maybe a lunch and learn, whether it's in person on site or something that you do virtually, to get you in front of another part of the organization, right? Why not ask? Once you've built that rapport, they will help you open doors inside of the organization if they feel like you've built a trusted relationship.
We were talking the other day, and you had mentioned how there's a lot of conversation out there around whether or not you gate or ungate content, which ties back to leads. So if we're ungating our content, what is marketing measuring on going forward? How do you view that?
Yeah, that is the $1 million question. Especially when you're young as an organization, and you're trying to build your database, especially with, rules around, who you can contact, right? And that obviously can be stricter country to country, region to region. So it is important to be able to build your database, and you do want those hand raisers. So what we've been doing is we're starting to ungate content that just truly, first of all, we all know there's table stakes stuff that should never be gated, right? If it's not meaty enough, like, don't make me fill out my information for like a 4-page,
Right,
like high level white paper. That's probably not appropriate. But if you did a business impact study with, I don't know, or like some type of like really meaty content, but even then, we did something with IDC recently, a business value report, and I know I could have driven hundreds of registrations like right out of the gate, but I decided I really want my prospect base to understand the business impact of the Attack IQ platform, and so I have that ungated. So now what we're trying to do is figure out, okay, so for that content, can we do some intelligence around accounts that have visited the site and interacted with the report, and then use some technology from Sixth Sense, for intent signals, and qualified digital, so that we know when they hit their website, we can actually hit them with meaningful messages straight away through the chatbot. And have our SDR team reach out to those accounts. Maybe now that we know that they've interacted with the content, that we could offer them a personal business value assessment, for example. We're not going to do that for everyone because we're not staffed to do that, but we're going to target those key accounts that we know have already engaged with us. So it is about being, I think, smarter with technology and how you scale yourself with technology, instead of trying to, like, shoot a shotgun and see who you hit, like really take a rifle approach to your ICP, and when your ICP, your ideal customer profile, is ready for you. So it is challenging when you start to ungate things, because for all of us who have grown up in more of that like traditional lead funnel, that feels a little uncomfortable. But also, I think it comes back to probably why all of us are in marketing. It is a very creative function. And so how do we get creative with tapping, our customer base and making more of those human to human connections, so that when people are attending those secret CIO networks, knock, knock to get in, that you've made an impression and you've empowered your customers to share that meaningful content with their peers in a trusted environment. So long-winded answer. I hope that answered your question.
I think it's a great segue into this. I think that, if hopefully we've thus far convinced you that you should be focusing on your customers and developing those relationships, but to scale an advocacy program and to get more customers to become advocates, it is not automatically going to happen. Yes, you're going to have some customers that'll instantly be advocates, but it takes relationship building, it takes trust, it takes a mutual relationship, mutually beneficial relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just go simply ask a customer to be a reference right away. That's a big ask.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big time commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So much of your lifespan with a customer is after that first initial sale. So have a look at this and you say, well, what does it take to get customers to become advocates? I know you're doing it. You're investing in customer marketing. What are some of the programs you use to turn customers into advocates?
Yeah, I think it really starts with that very basic but important foundation that everybody needs to be focused on customer delight, and not just say that on the website, but truly embody the spirit of customer delight. And it can start small, like I said, with just making yourself, your executive team, like available on being vulnerable and available and accessible on WhatsApp, on Slack, and then growing from there. And by the way, if you do launch a CAB or a TAB or some other advisory board, it is so important to not just hold the meeting and have the conversation, but you better make sure that the feedback that you got is acknowledged. And the next time you gather back together, you're showing any type of progress, or at least some status update, so that it feels, the customer understands like their voice was heard and you are doing something about it. And it's okay to say, we may not be able to do that, until we've got more resources, or we've built out our R&D team, or we've done this project first, but at least you are showing that you've heard and that you're moving things along. I have hired always very early in my organization a customer marketing manager. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody super senior, it could be somebody mid-level, but someone who has enough gravitas that you would feel comfortable with that person speaking to exec level, connecting the dots with product management and engineering for the more technical level. And that person's job is not just about references. They are such a key part of driving social proof that your product is mainstream, is a must have, not a nice to have. And so it's about engagement and sharing information back into the organization. It's about being the face of the community, having someone like put their face to your community if you're also going down the influitive route like we did, and making sure that you're responding and you're engaging with them. And that can be fun things, like, which is why I really enjoy your particular platform, because you're making it fun and rewarding for people to give you feedback on a beta product, for example, or test out a new course if you have an educational arm to your company, or take a business value paper and share that with their peer network on your behalf. So this person, it is a role that I feel is really critical in the organization, but they're also, reaching back out into the rest of the team to make sure that the voice of the customer is heard and acknowledged, and really being the glue inside of the organization. But as I said in the beginning, just like everyone's in sales and marketing, everyone is in customer marketing / customer advocacy too, right?
Very good. Well, this is another great stat that I pulled from Forrester from their B2B Summit recently, that just the high performing organizations, the companies that are growing the fastest, most profitable, they are spending 3x more, they are 3x more likely to be significantly making greater investments in customer marketing. And I think that just bodes very well for where you should be putting your dollars, investing in customers, because it has so many different benefits.
Mm-hmm.
If you tomorrow had to cut from your marketing budget, Julie, why would you say that customer marketing is a kind of a no-touch area?
And because it is the heartbeat of why you exist as an organization. If there were no customers, there would be no organization. And I think it's just really that binary. It is so important, if you want to grow, to be able to tell the stories of your customers, to be able to show multiple use cases, across your customer base, to show the business impact of why. Like, yeah, technology is cool, but so what if nobody's using it or they don't know how to use it, right? It is so important to share those stories and basically be, harnessing all of that goodness for Gartner Peer Insights reviews and G2 and, all those places where customers might be looking for reviews on your product. And that doesn't happen automatically. I mean, I would love it if our customers would just proactively go out and wake up, tomorrow morning and be like, I think I'm going to write a Gartner Peer Insights review for Attack IQ. Like, that'd be awesome, right? But again, like, even as us in like our day-to-day consumer life, we tend to only do those things when we've had a bad experience, right? So it's so vital to just, again, social proof that what you've got is real and meaningful and having a positive impact in the marketplace. And you need someone who's in that seat, who's thinking about it and getting the rest of the organization to think about it too. So it's so binary to me. It's such a critical function. And that's why, again, I've run teams of 100 plus people. My team now is small. It's less than 10 people. And yet that role was a critical hire for our organization.
Awesome. Well, I totally agree with you. And I sometimes wonder if we don't do ourselves any help by calling it customer marketing, because it does sit in the middle of the organization. It is the glue to the organization. It supports so many different areas. They are the champions of that voice of the customer, bringing it to product teams, giving that critical product feedback, becoming, developing a reference management process and helping sales to close deals faster with references, engaging with customers to make sure that you're utilizing the product to its maximum. There's so many ways outside of marketing that customer marketing is supporting, and certainly everything on the right-hand side, every department or subgroup that you have within marketing is going to benefit by leveraging what customer marketing can do and their engagement with customers. So I don't think it's an area of specialization that's going away. I think it is very much an orchestrated role that sits in the middle. And I just think I'm curious, what do you look for in a customer marketer? What would make them a customer marketing rock star for you?
That's a great question. So the customer marketing leaders and managers that I've had on my team have a lot of empathy for the customer. They're almost like, gatekeeper's not exactly like the right word I want to use here, but salespeople, when they're trying to sell, they want references, right? Their prospects asking for references, and your customer marketing manager in this case is trying to make sure you don't lose that goodwill with the customer by asking them to do too many things all the time, right? Because they actually have a job that they need to do too. And it's not to be 100% your customer advocate at your beck and call. So I think, empathy for the customer and just really understanding like what is okay to ask and how often is a big part of that. Somebody who's really willing to be the voice of the customer inside of the organization and is comfortable having conversations with product and sales and customer success and support, and the executive team, or be comfortable going to someone that can help them have that conversation. So kind of empathy, curiosity, hustle, but empathy for what the customer is doing in their day job. And an appreciation for that is so important. And then you kind of have to be a jack of all trades, right? I mean, like all of the things that you have here, this person is working with the social media team, and if they're running your customer advisory boards, they're actually almost like their own event marketer too. And they need to be thinking about what is kind of the treatment, the white glove treatment that they want to give their customers when they bring those people together, in person. But those are probably the most important traits, I would say.
That's good stuff. We're on our last slide and we're at time. I just want to ask you, since I said at the very beginning, you're a repeat customer, so you have built out advocacy programs in the past. For those for everyone attending and listening in, and they want to do the same, as an executive, how do you go and convince your other executive stakeholders that this is the right thing to do?
Well, because customer advocacy, to me, when done right, allows you to punch above your weight class. It's like you have taken your company and created a force multiplier. And we're never going to be able to hire as many people as you could impact through your customer base to be out there helping you market and sell and build your brand and create demand for you. And so a big part of my conversation is around showing up bigger in the marketplace than you may actually even be. Building, passionate advocates that are having conversations even when you're not there, because you're not going to be in every place at every time, right? And empowering them to maybe do a meetup in Montreal or a meetup in Buenos Aires, or and that doesn't take a lot of lift. It's just empowering them to have those conversations. And I was looking at this list here. This is all really good, right? So like, we're a SaaS company, so we're looking at new ACV. We're looking at sales efficiency numbers. We're looking at retention, and obviously retention is probably the biggest thing, right? Like, once you've got your new ACV, how do you keep that customer, right? How do you create the stickiness? And some of that's going to come from the platform, but a lot of it's also going to come with how you make them feel. How do they feel working with you? And if you're not, leaning in and having a relationship with them, you're creating an opportunity for your competitor to come in and create a different dynamic with that organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also add to this, when I was looking at this slide earlier, more informed product development decisions and directions, as well as higher net promoter scores and satisfaction. I guess that kind of leads to retention, right? But that was something that I've seen measured very carefully in the past. What is your net promoter score? How do people grade you for the type of experience they have with your organization?
Awesome. Julie, thank you so much for sharing those great insights. And everybody, thank you for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed and got something out of it. Sorry we could not get to some of the questions, but we'll be around the rest of the afternoon if you want to connect.
Sounds good.
Thanks so much, guys. It was a really great presentation. Lots of good engagement in the chat there, and questions coming through as well. So definitely connect with Dan if you've got any questions, and Julie as well. And a big thanks to Influitive for supporting us and this event, and to both of you for a fab talk. So yeah, stick with us. Connect with Dan and Julie on LinkedIn. Their LinkedIn's are on the event website. And also feel free to join the Slack channel where you can continue the conversation there. But thanks again, everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you. Bye-bye.